This is a Dalarna University production.
Welcome to the first grammar lesson of Arabic 1. During Arabic 1, you're going to have 14 of these grammar lessons. During these lessons, we're going to go through the grammar, or a simplified version of the grammar that you can read in the grammar book as well. Today, we're going to work with the Arabic alphabet, or the first part of the Arabic alphabet, and also the vowels and some other signs that you will need in order to be able to read and write. There are 28 letters in the Arabic alphabet. One of them is only a vowel. For the rest of them, 27 can work as consonants, and 3 can work as consonants and vowels. There are also 3 short vowels to correspond with the long vowels, and the short ones can be added on top or under the letters. We're going to see that in a second. Arabic is written from right to left, and there are no big or small letters, just one type of letters to learn. Most of the letters can be joined together, so when you write a word, you start at the beginning and then you don't lift the pen until you come to the end of the word. 3 vowel sounds that we just talked about are A, U, and I. So we have a sound like A, a sound like U, and a sound like E. Now these ones can be long or short. The long vowels are just like normal letters, just like we're used to in English or Swedish, for example. The short vowels, however, are added as little signs on top of the letters or under the letters. As we can see here, the short U sound is called a damma. If we have a look at the right part of the picture, we can see the sign of the damma. The short E sound is called kesra and is written like a little dash under the letter. And the short A sound is called a fatha, and it's written like a little dash on top of the letter. There is also a fourth sign, which is called a sukun, and it's like a small circle that you add on top of the letter. This sign is there to signify that on this letter we do not need a vowel. We're not reading ba, B-A, we're not reading bu, B-U, and we're not reading bi, B-I, but just b, just a B sound. So if we look at the word on the screen, we have first a D with a fatha on top. So we have D-A, and then we have an R with a circle on top, with a sukun on top, meaning that there's no vowel here, and then a B at the end. So we read D-A-R-B, darb. The long vowels have the same sound as the short ones, but longer, about 3 or 4 times longer. So we have a long A sound, a long U sound, and a long E sound. Now, in order for these letters to be pronounced as vowels, they need to come after a letter carrying the same short vowel as them themselves are. So for a U to be pronounced as a U, we need a little damma, a short U vowel in front of it. And the same for the E sound. Otherwise, the two last ones, the long U sound, the wow, and the long E sound, the ya, are pronounced like consonants. So we have a wow, a W, and we have a ya, like the English Y. A is always an A, however it can carry the other vowels, and in those cases be pronounced as an A, E, or U. We said before that there are no big or small letters, there are no capital letters in Arabic. But even though that's a relief, a letter in Arabic can still have 3 different shapes, depending on where it is in the word. It can be at the beginning of a word, of course, and then it has one shape. In the middle of a word, it has a second shape, and at the end of a word, a third shape. And the third shape at the end of a word is usually the same as when the letter is freestanding, when it stands on its own. Now, some letters change a lot between these 3 positions, but luckily it's only 3 or 4 of them. The others are fairly easy to recognize, and some, especially the ones we're going to look at today, don't really change their shape at all. The first group of letters we're going to look at is a group like that. This group of letter cannot connect to anything that comes after. If a letter comes before and it's a connector, it can be connected to these letters, but after them we always need a space. So these 6 letters are important to remember. They cannot be connected to anything that comes after. The first letter is also the first letter of the alphabet, and the name of the letter is alif. The sound is a normal A sound like we're used to in English or in Arabic, as in apple or alphabet. If we have a look at the 3 words written in the middle, we can see the position of alif when it's in the beginning, in the middle, and at the end. As you can see, it's not connected to anything that comes after it. However, as in the last example, where it says Lina, it can be connected to a letter that comes before it, if that letter is a connector. The next letter is called dal. It's pronounced like a normal English D, as in does or did. D works in the same way as alif, cannot be connected to anything that comes after it. And you can see, if you look at the 3 example words, that the shape of D is the same in all 3 places. Many letters in Arabic comes in 2 versions. If you look at this letter, called dal, it looks almost like the one we just looked at, right? The only difference is the little dot above. And you will find today and next week that many letters come in these 2 versions. One with the dots and one without. And since the little dot is the thing that changes the whole pronunciation, in this case from D to the, D and H together, as in the English word there. It's very important both to remember to pronounce it when you see the dot, and if you want to read it, if you want to write it, to add the dot so that you don't write something you're not planning to write. Just like the letter we just saw, dal, dal keeps its position. And as you can see in the middle word, لذيذ, it can be connected to letters that come before it, but not to the ones after it. The next letter we're going to have a look at is the letter Ra. Ra is pronounced as a normal R, for example in radio or in English. Again, it works just like the ones we've seen earlier today. Cannot be connected to things that come after, but it can if a letter before it is a connecting letter. Zay is another example of these. Zay and Ra, I should say, is another example of these two letters where the dot is the only difference. Zay is pronounced as a normal Z in English, as in zebra, for example. And it works like Ra. Can only be connected to things that come before it, not after. Wow, we've already had a look at, since it's one of these vowel sounds. It can be pronounced as the W in the beginning of the word worry. But, as we said before, it can also be pronounced as a vowel, and in that case it's a long U sound, as in the word fool in English. And if you have a look at the three words written here, you can see that as the other letters in the group, it can be connected to things that come before. In the middle word and the last word, we can see that. But it cannot connect to letters after it, as we can see in the first word to the right. The second group of letters can be connected on both sides, if, of course, the letter before it is a connector. Two of them change their shape slightly when they are connected to other letters. The others, you can hardly notice it. Let's have a look at them. The first letter is the letter Ba, and it's pronounced as a normal B, for example, in the word be in English, or bean, etc. If you look at it in the three different positions, you can see that the shape is almost the same. In the first and the second examples, when B is at the beginning and in the middle of a word, the last part of it, the little tail, is connected with the next letter and you can't really see it. But at the end, you can see the full tail, and it's and it looks like when it's freestanding. Ta is pronounced as T in English, in tea, for example. If you have a look at this letter, you see that this one and the next letter we're going to look at have the same shape as B, but again, the thing that distinguish them from each other are the dots. B has got one dot below, T two dots above. And the next letter, Tha, pronounced as the TH in the word three, has got 3 dots above. Okay? Otherwise, the shape is the same. In the beginning and the middle, the tail is connected to the next letter, and at the end, it looks like when it's freestanding. Now, we've had a look this far at letters that look the same, but have dots to distinguish them from each other. There's another thing with similar letters in Arabic. There are many letters that come in two versions. We got 2T, we got 2S, we got 2Z, and so on. And this letter that we're going to look at now is a heavier version of T. is called ta, and it's pronounced in the front of the mouth. Ta. This T sound hasn't really got an equivalent in English or in Swedish, but you have to think of it as a heavier or voiced version of T. It's an easy letter to work with because the shape is the same in all three positions, beginning, middle and end. And it can also be connected on both sides. Ta has a little friend looking the same, except it has a dot. This little friend of ta is called za. It's a voiced version of z, and it's pronounced a little bit like a mixture of D, H and Z at the same time. If we look at the first word, it's pronounced dhahr. So you can hear the D and the H and the Z being mixed together. And again, there is no good equivalent in Swedish or English that we can compare it with. Just like ta, it looks the same in all three positions. The next letter is the letter nun. Easy and nice to pronounce. Nun is just like N in English, for example in nice or never. Nun is a bit special because if you look at the shape it takes when it's in the beginning and the middle, it looks like the letter B. Remember we had ba and ta and tha in the beginning of this group, and they all had this shape. However, they had dots in different places, right? Now, at the end of a word, as we can see in the word Farhan, the nun takes back its the same shape it has when it's freestanding. So the tail goes under the line. So it's not like a B or a T here. It's got its own shape. The letter Ya we've seen before. This is, as you remember, one of these letters that can work both as a consonant and as a vowel. When it works as a consonant, it's pronounced as the Y in the beginning of yellow. Okay? But it can also sound like the vowel E in bean. If we have a look at the example words here, in the first word and in the second word, when we have the initial and middle position, you can see that again this letter is a friend of a B and T and Tha. Ba and Ta and Tha. It looks the same, but with the change of dots. However, in the final position, when it's at the end of a word, it goes back and looks like when it's freestanding.